And so it is. We do welcome a great Coptic addition, and over the past decade, his name is Alan Tutt. He's sitting with us right now and waiting in the wings. Alan started out his life as a straight A student, but soon fell into a long series of failures and hardships, eventually becoming homeless. This experience pushed him to seek non-traditional solutions to life's many problems, which led to him discover the key principles behind manifesting, a concept that many call today the laws of attraction. Since then, Alan has written 10 books, created dozens of audio programs, and currently runs a membership site devoted to helping his students master the art of science and manifesting. In recent years, his work assisting the Coptic Fellowship's future has been incredible, putting it mildly. This started with Alan attending our Sunday gatherings about a decade ago, with his wife Linda being our pianist and music director of the Coptic Fellowship. He designed the Coptic original website redesigned the Coptic original website and revamped that in about 2010, and has provided photo shoots for many of our events. Alan took over audio recording duties that I once did with the Coptic Center Sunday Experience, and literally transformed it and made it a video offering to the world and uploaded them weekly to the website, which we're so thankful for that work that he's done tirelessly throughout the weeks in the Sunday evenings. The other things that he's done, just to give him kudos, because he's really deserved it over, especially recent months. He has developed a plan for marketing the organization for our most recent conference, and now selling the different conference videos, including the conference that I talked about that we just shared with you. Master Hamid Bey's written materials, he has converted the typed up lessons of Master Hamid Bey into digital format, offering that to the world via our website as well, and collaborating on cassette tapes of Master Hamid Bey's voice as well, with Linda doing the lion's share of that work and the digital conversion of audio cassette tapes to make those an offering to the world. He's a co-facilitator of the World Service Order Leadership Training course, which we're thankful for him to do that part in great works that he's done, and about a couple of years ago with a course offering that he'll be part of this year. And also he has gone through the self-discovery class, which is year 2 of a 4-year program of the Master Course series of the Coptic Fellowship. He is gifted with many talents, and we as a Coptic family want to thank him, especially this evening once again, for his contributions and his vision to the changes that are taking place within the organization, our world around us, and his continued enlightenment and his enlightening presentations that he shares on these Sunday nights. And tonight, I'm sure will be no exception. His presentation for this evening will be Breaking Through.
I do want to thank you, Mike, for the introduction you gave. Listening to it, I'm thinking, boy, he's really laying it on kind of thick there. But I guess I have been quite involved with a lot of different things with the Coptics, and it is my pleasure to contribute and be of service where I can. So I thank you for the recognition, and I hope to continue to be worthy of whatever recognition that I do get. So for everyone else here, I thank you for being here. Hopefully we will have something for everybody, because I have been doing these presentations pretty much almost for 10 years, not quite the whole 10 years, but my first talk way back when, and I don't even know how long ago that was, probably 8 or 10 years, was on a subject that I call harmonic prayer. And I had recently written a book. I mean, it's, whoops, wrong shoulder. It's right behind me over here. I wrote that book back in 2012, and it describes a relatively simple process of prayer, of getting contact with that divine essence that is within us, that divine essence that Tara was talking about, that is always available to us as long as we trust it and do not doubt. And those are 2 factors that Christ talked about when he said that you can command a mountain to throw itself into the sea as long as you believe that it will happen and do not doubt. It's belief to the ultimate. And that is definitely one of the factors involved in manifesting our desires into reality. So one thing that's a beautiful challenge for me in these talks is, because I have done them so much, I want to continually introduce new things so that those who have listened to all of the talks before get something new out of it. But I still also want to make sure that anybody coming in who's new, who may not have heard any of my previous talks, also is taken care of as well. So what I've got planned here tonight is basically I'm going to do a very brief overview of the basic principles just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. But where I'm going to end up here is I'm going to be talking about a different form of manifesting that's not just the harmonic prayer process that I have been talking about. Just as a review, the harmonic prayer process can be described as either 3 steps or 5 steps, depending on how much detail we want to get into. As a 3-step process, I talk about relaxing deeply into yourself, going down into an alpha or theta level of mind. And these are the mind states that are associated with either deep meditation or light hypnosis. So putting ourselves into a self-hypnotic state is one of the things I've been talking about with that harmonic prayer process. And then once we are deeply relaxed, then we visualize our desired outcome in rich, vivid detail as if it's happening in the physical space around us, right here, right now. And to see it in as much detail as you would see things with your physical eyes, just looking around. What do you see with your physical eyes? Duplicate that same level of detail within your mind, and that helps the manifestation process. Whatever you would see in that desired outcome, whatever you would hear in that desired outcome, whatever you would feel, taste, touch, smell, anything that you would feel emotionally as well, recreate that experience in a deeply relaxed state of mind, and that helps to shift our beliefs, because belief is one of the most important aspects of manifesting, according to Christ, who says, your faith has healed you, or according to your faith is it done to you. Our faith is the most important factor in manifesting, and it is in that deep relaxation and that vivid focus on what we want to manifest that makes that transference of faith possible, so that we can change our faith and therefore change our experience of life. That has been the general process I've been talking about for quite a number of years, and the way we guide it through, when I do a guided session, it's usually 5 to 10 minutes, or it could be longer. Sometimes if it takes a person a little bit more time to get into that deeply relaxed state, that can make it go a little bit longer. If you really want to spend time daydreaming about your desired outcome, which can be a good thing to do, you can make it last longer too. It doesn't have to be 5 or 10 minutes. It could go as long as you want to. But what I really want to get into is not how to make it longer, but how to make it shorter. How can we condense that harmonic prayer process that would normally be 5 or 10 minutes long and condense it down to just a few seconds? And so that is the primary focus of tonight's talk. The reason it was given the title Breaking Through is because over the years, I do have a few students here and there. I write courses and I have students studying those courses. And every once in a while, I get someone coming back to me saying, I'm doing everything you're telling me to do, but it's not working for me. What am I doing wrong? And when we go through a dialogue to find out what are they doing, how are they doing it, I find that there are a few key factors that need to be adjusted before they break through that invisible barrier, break through those obstacles, break through that resistance to getting results the way they want and deserve to get results. So that's the reason for the title of tonight's talk. So let's dive in here and cover just the basics for a little bit to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And what I want to talk about, there are 3 key principles that make manifesting work. And if you are experiencing any kind of resistance to seeing results in your manifesting efforts, the first thing to do is look at these 3 principles. And the first 2 definitely are more beliefs than anything else. And the first belief that we want to acknowledge is that our physical reality, what we see and experience in the world around us, is a direct reflection of what we believe inside. And so our inner beliefs are reflected in the outer world, and that's our experience of life. Going back to Christ again, according to your faith is it done to you. Your faith heals you. So if there's a situation that we don't like in our physical world, by changing what we believe inside ourselves, that physical experience will also change. One of the examples that I often use is that if you believe that life is hard, if you believe that life is a struggle, if you believe that you have to fight to get anywhere in life, that belief is going to create resistance and obstacles. And the best way to get rid of those obstacles, to get rid of that resistance, is to change that belief so that you believe that life is easy. You believe that things just happen to fall into place. You believe that the world is on your side and conspiring to help you get further ahead on your pathway. And so when we change a belief that life is hard into a belief that life is easy, a lot of that resistance and a lot of those obstacles just disappear. And there's a lot of different ways that we can talk about how this happens. And just to make sure that I can address everybody, even on a purely physical level, before we even talk about the metaphysical level, even on a purely physical level, our beliefs control our outcomes simply through a chain of events that goes like this. If I believe that somebody is mean, if I believe that someone is self-centered, if I believe that someone doesn't want to be bothered, if I have a reason to approach that person, I might approach that person less confidently. I would approach that person with a little bit meeker attitude. I might be a little bit more hesitant in how I approach that person. And that creates a type of response. Whereas if I believe that this particular person was happy-go-lucky, welcomed the opportunity to meet new people, was very generous with their time, if I believe that about this person, I would approach them completely differently. And based on the way I approach someone, that often determines how people respond to us. So when we approach someone with the belief that they're happy to see us, they will often be happier to see us than if we approach that same person with the belief that, this may not work out as well as I want it to work out. So our beliefs control our decisions, whether or not to approach the person. How do we approach this person? Our beliefs also control our actions, how we do certain things. And those decisions and actions through a physical chain of events lead to our results. So just on a purely physical level, our beliefs control our outcomes. On a metaphysical level, then we have what Christ was telling us, what Hamid Bey has taught, and obviously what I've been teaching as well. Our beliefs are reflected in the outer world. This is the most important belief to have, the most important understanding to have, because if you believe that the physical world is completely separate from you, then your belief in that separation, your belief in that disconnect will create an experience that says your manifesting efforts will be fruitless. Your manifesting efforts will not work as well as they would if you believe that there was an intimate connection between your beliefs and the world around you. One way to think of this that makes it easy to see that connection is that if you consider the physical world as a light layer of dust floating on a sea of consciousness, and as this consciousness, as waves in that consciousness move, that's what keeps the physical world in motion. That's what keeps the earth flowing around the sun. That's what keeps the moon rotating around the earth. That's what keeps the earth rotating on its axis, is these motions in the ocean of consciousness. And so when we are working to manifest something, it's like we're putting ripples into that water, and those ripples go out into the world to create change for us. So that's the first most important concept to keep in mind here. The second thing that I want to talk about is that despite what a lot of fairy tales will tell us, despite what a lot of unscrupulous marketers will try to sell us, the process of manifesting is a skill, it's not a formula. There are no magic words that if you happen to say them in the right order, magic's going to happen. There's no magic formula that if you had the recipe on a piece of paper and it says, okay, mix this ingredient in, mix that ingredient in, do this little thing over it and wave the magic wand and poof, it's all going to happen. That's not the way manifesting works. It's not a formula. It's a skill. It's a skill that involves three main abilities, three skills, actually. It's the ability to relax, to make contact with the divine essence within ourselves. It's the skill of focusing our minds on what we would like to manifest and to focus it clearly so that we see the details, so that we hear the details, so that we can taste, touch, smell, and emote in that space as if it were actually happening right now. That's another skill that it's involved with. It's also a skill in shifting our beliefs. And these three key skills are what make manifesting work. The better we are at these skills, the better it works. So I'm going to leave that one for right now because we are going to be coming back to that in a moment when I get to shortening that harmonic prayer process down into something a lot quicker, something that I'm calling harmonic intent. So we are getting to that real quick. The third principle that I want to talk about, and that is how we get to condensing that process down into something a lot quicker. And that is when we are in that manifesting state, if we are relaxed and focusing on what we want to manifest and choosing to believe that this thing will actually happen, the amount of time that we take in this process can help. I mean, if you do a 5-minute process, it can be good. If you did exactly the same thing for 10 minutes, it would be better. And if you did exactly the same thing for an hour, it would be even better. But what's even better than the amount of time, what's more important than the amount of time that you spend, is how intensely you do each of these steps. What I mean by that, okay, if we look at the process that I've been teaching as harmonic prayer, the first step is to relax. And so some people, I mean, obviously right now I'm being very focused on a conscious mind level, and so I'm not relaxed at all at this moment. But before I really learned how to do all this stuff, I thought, okay, a lot of books, I mean, I've got a lot of books. Most of them will say first step is to relax. And my thought on relaxing is, okay, I'm sitting down. Okay, I'm not doing anything. I'm relaxed. No, that's not being relaxed at all. That's just the bare beginning of actual relaxation. True relaxation is taking our brain waves, slowing them down, slowing our body down, relaxing all the muscles in our body, slowing our mind down from this beta level of consciousness, which is usually defined about 14 cycles per second, and dropping that down into alpha, which is usually in the 8 to 10 cycles per second area, dropping it down as far as we can. If we can get to that 8 cycles per second, we're doing good. If we can drop it even further, we're doing even better. And the further we can drop our brain waves, the more intense the relaxation step. And so the more intense we can do these steps, the better it works. So the deeper we can relax, the better it's going to work. In terms of focusing on what we want to manifest, the degree of intensity there, it's not about straining your mental muscles. It's not about blowing a gasket. It's not about holding your breath and really putting a lot of effort into it. That's not what I'm talking about in terms of intensity. What I'm talking about is how clearly you can visualize. How much detail is there in your visualization? How vividly real does that imaginary experience feel to you? If it feels just as real as the physical world, then you're doing good. Most people, and for many years, I was definitely one of them, whenever I tried to visualize something, it was like this hazy form that, it's like, okay, there's a person over there somewhere. Yeah, there's a few buildings back there, and there's this kind of thing that's kind of happening around here. I don't really see it. So hazy images produce hazy results. Weak images produce weak results. In manifesting, we want to be able to visualize things with intense detail. We want to see red as red. If we have a vision of a new car, we want to be able to see that new car. We want to see not only the general shape of it and the colors of it, but also the details of the trim. We want to see the texture on the fabric or the leather that is in the interior of that car. We want to be able to feel ourselves driving in it and feel ourselves in that seat, feel the steering wheel in our hands. And if we're imagining driving that new car, we want to feel the vibration of the road as we're going down the road, to hear the wind going past that car as we're going through, to smell that new car smell that we would smell in that situation. We want all of those details to be part of that experience. And so the intensity of our visualization is important. And the more intense we can make that visualization, the better it's going to work. And here again, intensity is more important than the time variable. It's more important than the duration of your manifesting session. If you can relax deeply and visualize very intensely, that will account for far more results in a 10-second space than you could get in an entire hour of loose, hazy daydreaming in a kind of relaxed state of mind. So those are the first two steps. The third step that we've been talking about, that I've been talking about for years, is obviously the belief step. And over the last year, maybe last 2 years, I've been talking about a process of anchoring in our belief by mentally connecting this vision of what we want to manifest with the concepts of truth and reality. And by linking these two things together in our minds, and this can be done symbolically, there's a couple different ways we can do that, but the more we get the feeling of this visualization is a true and accurate representation of reality, maybe not in the current time, maybe it's in a future time, maybe it's in today, tomorrow, next week, next month, it's sometime in the future. If we can anchor that in a way that feels just as real and just as true is the key idea here, true and real, the more true and real we make this visualization feel, seem, sound, look, I mean, there's a lot of different ways of doing that, which I'll get into in just a moment. The more we can anchor this idea in with the concepts of truth and reality, the more powerful our manifestations become. And when we get all three of these factors working together, all of them on a very intense level, you can perform miracles in just a few seconds that are far beyond anything you can do by spending hours or even days in a lesser intense prayer process. So those are the key things that I wanted to talk about tonight. And just to kind of give you a overview of how I feel this to be, to give you a better description of it. When I feel like I need the full harmonic prayer process, or when I'm doing it that way, I mean, different things, different processes, and sometimes it just depends on how much time I want to take with something. If I want to take time and I'm using the harmonic prayer process, I will sit back and I'll relax and I'll get all the muscles quiet down and I'll slow my brain waves down and I take that time and then I'll go into that directed daydream about the outcome that I want to manifest, and I'll take my time with that because I enjoy it. Sometimes I take the longer process simply because I enjoy it. And then I'll anchor the ideas in. And again, that could take 5 minutes, it can take an hour, it can take whatever amount of time you want to. But let's say, okay, just as a quick example, I remember one time in particular, we were at Unity Church in Ada. They were talking about having a picnic the Saturday following, the next week. And as Linda and I were walking to the car, I was visualizing, okay, I'm in the park, I'm looking at the weather, it's clear, it's sunny, The temperature is good. There's just a light little breeze, maybe, if anything. There's no clouds in the sky. I'm visualizing that whole experience. I'm seeing it from the position of I am there. I am there not only in time but also in space, or not only in space but also in time. It is that following weekend. I am there at the park, and from that standpoint of thinking from the future, you've heard that phrase before. Visualize your outcome from the future, from the outcome. I was visualizing myself at that park on that day, and visualizing the space around me as it would be if it turned out the way I wanted it to turn out. The entire thing only took about 30 seconds. And in fact, okay, let me just kind of go through it real quick here. That's kind of what might work the best. So if I'm doing this, I'm going to take a deep breath. In the process, well, let me do it first and then I'll explain it later. That's probably better. And that's as much time as it takes. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm taking the deep breath to tell my body to relax. It's a trigger symbol. It's something that NLP might call an anchor. It's an anchor to trigger that state of what they call resourcefulness, relaxation, confidence, focus. These are the three things that we want to have in that space. So I've trained myself to respond to that deep breath with that focus by entering into that deep space. Within that deep space, I visualize the whole thing with as much detail as I can, and I give it a feeling of being solid, a feeling of being true and real. And I lock it in according to the way that my mind records true and accurate memories, so that it becomes a memory of a future event. And it's a memory that I trust because it has been encoded in the way that my mind encodes true and accurate memories. So I promise to go over that a little bit more. Let me do that now. For most people, okay, here's probably the best way to say it. For most people, when we see images, if we see an image of something that is an accurate representation of reality, we might see it close to us. We might see it big. We might see it in color. We might see it with bright light. But if we think about something that's imaginary, we might see it further off in the distance. We might see it smaller. It might be a little bit more hazy. It might be black and white. Those are some of what NLP calls submodalities of the visual modality. It's the visual modality and the subcomponents of that. Color, brightness, clarity, closeness, distance. These are some of the things that would determine whether something is recorded as a fantasy image or if it's recorded as a true and accurate image. For me, for my mind, and this is something you have to look at for yourself, when I think of something that is true and accurate, I have a feeling of a solid weight that is down below my gut. It's lower in my mental space. Whereas if I think about something that I don't really believe all that much, I feel it higher up in my mental space, and it feels more like smoke. It's not as solid, it's not as heavy. And so for me to record an idea, an intention to manifest in a way that's going to manifest, I want to give it that feeling of weight. I want to give it that feeling of solidity. I want to bring it closer to me and place it lower in my mental space. And those are the things that tell my mind to encode this as a true and accurate representation of reality again. And here's the trick. To find out how your mind encodes the difference between true and fantasy. And first of all, think of a time when you were absolutely confident about something. You knew what you were going to do. You knew how to do it. You knew it was going to work. Replay that memory inside your mind. Get that feeling. And then after you have experienced that for a few seconds at least, think of a completely opposite experience. You were in a situation where you weren't exactly sure what to do. You didn't know how to do it, even if you knew what you were supposed to be doing. And notice how that feels. And then go back and forth between those two memories. And eventually you will notice differences between those memories. One memory may be closer. One memory may be further away. One memory may be placed on the left. One memory may be placed on the right. One memory may be higher than the other. Just notice those differences. And then when you identify the differences that your mind tells you about the difference between something true and accurate and the difference between something that's fantasy or even the confidence in insecurity or confidence in non-confidence, I mean, those are all kind of related. There are some differences, but they're very related. When you notice what those differences are, then you know how you need to visualize things in order to lock it into your mind as a true and accurate statement of fact. And so in this manifesting process that I've been starting to call harmonic intent, it's still the same 3 steps as with harmonic prayer. The main difference is the degree of intensity with these steps and the amount of time that we take with it. And when you can do them very intensely, when you can relax quickly into an alpha level of mind, when you can clear your mind focus so that you're focusing only on the thing you want to manifest and nothing else, and when you can trust that process to produce results, then you can really break through that resistance, break through those obstacles that stopping you from being able to manifest consistently and reliably. And like anything else, again, manifesting is a skill. It's not a formula. Just like music, just like sports, just like dancing, just like pretty much anything else in life that's worthwhile, it takes practice. It takes doing it over and over and over and over again to get good at it. When you're just starting out, you're probably not going to be very good. You need to practice it to develop those muscles, those manifesting muscles. And when you can develop those manifesting muscles, develop those skills that I was talking about here in this talk, then you can really manifest some really major things. So that is really kind of the bottom line with it. It really can be quick, and it just takes practice. It takes focusing on those 3 elements. There is one other thing that I want to mention about this. There's this common analogy that's used whenever there's 3 points involved. And here again, there's 3 points. There's the degree of relaxation, there's a degree of focus, and there's a degree of trust and belief. There's this common analogy of using the idea of a stool or a table with 3 legs. And while that can be roughly a good analogy to use, the problem with that analogy is that in order for a table to sit level, all 3 of those legs have to be the same length. Manifesting is not like that. Manifesting is more like a pole with 3 sections. Like a painter's pole, you can adjust the length of that pole, and the different sections, some can be shorter, some can be longer. In order to manifest a particular outcome, it's like you have to reach out a certain distance. And if one of these factors is weak, that can be compensated by having another one of these factors that's even longer than the others. So you just need to get there. You just need to reach that distance. And if your belief, if your faith, if your trust is weak, you can compensate for that by relaxing even deeper and focusing even clearer. And those 2 factors, those 2 skills can compensate for weak belief. When you have practiced this enough and when you have enough experience so that you don't only trust that the process will work, you know it's going to work. When your belief gets to that strong of a level and you have that skill in focusing clearly on what you want, then you don't need to relax as much. And that's why sometimes when we're trying to get a certain type of weather for an outdoor event, I don't have to go into a meditative state. I don't have to go into that self-hypnosis state. I can do it from just a kind of halfway relaxed state of mind because I have the other two factors very well developed. So there's a balance in there that one thing can compensate for something else. Just wanted to make sure that that was out there and that was clear. I've kind of taken my half hour here. I think I have covered everything that I really wanted to cover here. I hope that this is of benefit to you. And just to throw out one more little thing, at the conference 2 weeks ago, I made an offer that if people wanted to take advantage of the courses and audio programs, guided meditations, hypnosis programs, all that kind of stuff that I've been developing for the last 19 years, my website is now a membership site. And the normal cost of membership is $97 a year. And for that, you get access to everything that's on there, plus anything new that I add on to it, which I'm planning to add on a bunch this year. But if you would like to take this further, if you would like to really dive deep into my materials, I made an offer at the conference. There's a coupon code that I'll put into the chat. It's Awakening. It's the part of the title of that conference, A New Cycle of Awakening. The word awakening is the coupon code. It's all lowercase, no capitals. If you use that coupon code on my website, which is powerkeyspub.com, POWERKEYSPUB, short for publishing. If you go to my website, use that coupon code, you can get the membership for half price. So instead of $97, it's $48.50. I made the offer at the conference that the first 100 people to use that coupon code would get the discount. Not all 100 have been claimed. So there is still an opportunity for people to join that membership site at that discount. Just want to make sure that that's available to you guys as well, because the Coptics, obviously, that's kind of where I have been hanging out for the last several years. So I want to extend that out to you. And I'm looking forward to the discussion after this presentation to see what questions you have and where we might take this even further. So thank you. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Alan. Great presentation. I'm glad you circled around and talked about the analogy between the smoke and the stuff you want off in the distance and seeing the things in what you're trying to manifest off in the distance, or you're trying to push away actually, but then bringing it to your gut and taking it in and what you're really confident about, what you really truly believe in. You mentioned that a couple different times in your presentation, and that was good. I'm glad you did that, because it kind of gave me a chance to think of different ideas of, okay, some things I can just step into and do, and other things, oh, I can't do. So visualize and put it in a different way to bring it into manifestation and being. So.
Yeah, once you know how your mind encodes things that are true and accurate and things that are only fantasy or make-believe or you're not too sure about, once you understand how your mind encodes those two things, then you can consciously choose to encode your manifesting intentions in a way that your mind will accept as a true and accurate thing, which causes your subconscious mind to take action on that and do what it needs to do in order to create that manifestation.
So, Alan, do we have you to blame for these cold temperatures?
I've been busy with a conference the last couple of months. I haven't been able to, well, actually, as far as that goes, this year, you know, there's been so much talk about global warming. Sometimes I wonder if I'm partly to blame for that, because I never like cold, and I'm living in Michigan, so I'm always pushing for warmer weather.
Oh, okay.
So I will say that over
your intent was good, not
yeah, well, this year I kind of held back from that, and I said, well, what if I just say let's go ahead and bring that temperature down in the winter again, just let it be what it was going to be anyways.
You know, Alan, a psychic once told me that the Midwest was going to become a tropical zone after the Earth changes. So maybe there's something to it.
Yeah, I would probably enjoy that, actually.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we all? Yeah. Hey, Ellen, I had a question. How does willpower fit into this model?
Right, because willpower is something that I talk about quite a bit. And willpower is what we are using to consciously direct our imagination, to consciously choose our focus, to choose to focus on one thing and not be distracted by 100 other things that could potentially impede and impact our minds and our focus. Willpower is used to direct our focus and to keep it focused where it needs to be.
Kind of like the guardrails, if you will.
Johnny Moe was on.
Yep, that's a good way to put it. Yep.
Yep. Okay, good. Thanks.
I have a question, Alan.
Sure, go ahead, John.
Yeah, very good discussion. So I'm going to go back to a story, a little short story, then I'm going to ask my question. A Christian evangelist went out to a Blackfoot Indian tribe over 120 years ago. And the evangelist was asking this Indian that was basically on his way to becoming a medicine man, how is it you people bring the rain? You claim you're going to bring the rain to take care of the corn crops because your corn is drying up. And so the Blackfoot Indian said, well, I will take you to our sacred hill and I will show you. Okay, so this starts to get good. So the evangelist walks up the hill with the Blackfoot Indian, and the Blackfoot Indian goes into a stone circle. And so the evangelist asks him, why are you stepping into the stone circle? And the Blackfoot Indian says, because the sky is thinner above me. So the Blackfoot Indian stays in the stone circle for about 45 minutes. And then he steps out and they walk back down the hill together. And as they're walking back down the hill together, a black cloud forms in the distance. And within an hour, the corn crop is getting rain. So then the evangelist asked him, well, I'm not familiar with stepping into stone circles, so maybe you could break this down for me. What did you do in the stone circle? And so the Blackfoot Indian said, I visualized the rain coming down on top of my hair. As it came down all my hair to the middle of my back, then I could feel the raindrops dripping on my moccasins. He said, then before long, I knew I was standing in water. And as soon as I knew I was standing in water in the stone circle, I knew my prayer was done. So I stepped out of the stone circle and I came back down the hill. Okay, there's the story. All right, obviously he believed. Well, he believed that the sky was thinner above the stone circle. So can you comment on that factor in belief? Because your discussion's very good on belief.
I would say that the idea of the sky being thinner in one particular point, that is a belief that wasn't necessary for that particular story, because if he obviously visualized what he wanted in very clear detail, and he had a belief that the process he was using was going to produce a result. And so, like I said, those two, when you have two factors that are very strong, that idea of relaxing doesn't have to be very strong. So those two factors made the rain come through. So that's really all it took. The idea of the sky being thinner in a particular point, this is something that I would call a symbol. And there are many beliefs that we have that act as symbols, that they're useful because they give our mind something to hold on to. It's kind of like the idea of using crystals. That's something that I did a long time. Or the idea of wearing different symbols like the Ankh. These symbols give our minds something to focus on, something to attach a belief to. And if we believe, again, reality is a reflection of what we believe. So if we believe that standing in a stone circle will make your prayer more effective, then your belief will make it more effective. If we believe that by burning a green candle, that's going to attract abundance into the household, the belief will tend to make that work. So we can believe in a lot of different things, and as long as our belief is solid and it works to our advantage, then I'm losing track of my tongue here. Our beliefs make our reality. So if we believe that doing certain things will produce certain results, then doing those things will produce those certain results because our beliefs make it happen. There's this idea that even pharmaceuticals, drugs used by doctors in the medicine world, get their power based on the belief that we have in those medications. One of the studies that I wrote about in the book, Choose to Believe, that had been duplicated quite a number of times is that they would gather a group of people and they would tell everybody in there, okay, you're going to be getting a stimulant. You're going to be feeling a little antsy right now. You probably won't have an easy time resting and relaxing, but we want to kind of check to see how things are going. But 9 out of 10 would get the stimulant and 1 person would get a sedative. So what ended up happening was that the person who got the sedative but was told they were getting a stimulant responded as though they actually got a stimulant, the opposite of what the drug would have actually done. And the reverse has also been done, where they tell a group of people, okay, you're going to be getting the sedative, you're going to be feeling a little drowsy a little bit, we don't want you going anywhere, we want to check up on you. But 9 out of 10 of them get the sedative, but another 1 out of 10 gets the stimulant. And the person who got the stimulant, who would normally be expected to be feeling antsy and not be able to rest and relax very well, they responded as though they actually got a sedative. So in those experiments, it was proven that our beliefs about a drug are more powerful than the drug itself. So the idea of, if I do something in a particular place, if we believe that that is true, our belief will make it seem true. But in the story that you shared, that wasn't even necessary because the medicine man in training visualized it in very clear detail and trusted that it would actually work. So those were the 2 things that were really important there.
Ellen, I have a question regarding, you mentioned in one of your presentations, you haven't had headaches in years. How do you diffuse a headache? Changes come
How do
around?
you get rid of a headache?
Well, okay. I can describe a process that is similar because, like you said, I haven't really had colds or headaches for so many years. I don't really have experience with that, but I do have an experience of getting injured and then dealing with what would be pain and healing in that situation. The most notable example that I can remember, Linda definitely remembers this one. A number of years ago, I was trimming a pillar candle. I was trying to cut the wax down because it had burned in a way to where it really wouldn't stay lit. And so I was trying to trim the wax down so it would light and burn right. And so I took this knife and I'm holding the candle and I'm cutting through the candle, and then all of a sudden it breaks and the knife hits my finger. And luckily the bone was there because that's what stopped the knife from continuing on. So I had a pretty good cut on my finger. And so immediately I realized what happened. I grabbed a towel and I held it. And as I'm standing there, I'm focusing on it's healing, it's healing, it's healing. The skin is binding itself back together again. And just visualizing what would have been a painful cut as a perfectly healthy finger. And so I was visualizing the outcome I wanted, which was healthy, no pain, basically I was numbing it at that point, and the bleeding did stop pretty quickly. And within a couple of hours, I noticed, okay, first of all, there wasn't any pain after the initial, but then I noticed that I was able to still feel the skin still had sensation. I could still feel through the skin, but it wasn't painful. So to answer the question is, if you do have a headache, what you need to do, first of all, you need to definitely relax, because that's probably one of the key ingredients in creating a headache is tension. And so if you relax and relax and relax and relax, deeper, 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 then you can release the tension around that headache, and that will get rid of at least a good portion of it. Within that deep space, again, it's visualizing what you want, which is to feel good, to feel normal, to feel no pain. And there's this old thing that bodybuilders used to do. They would repeat as a mantra, no pain, no pain, no pain, no pain, no pain, after a heavy workout. And the way bodybuilders do is they're really tearing their muscles apart so that the body can rebuild itself. So they're tearing their body apart from the inside through lifting weights. And they get done with with a workout, with an exercise workout, and they're just focusing their minds on there's no pain, there's no pain, there's no pain, there's no pain. And it's a self-hypnotic process of just focusing on the end result they wanted. Again, focus on what you want, believe that it's going to happen, and relax. And the better you do each of these three elements, the better it's going to work.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions for Ellen tonight?
I'd just like to interject that it does seem to work, because a couple years ago when I fell and broke my wrist on the ice, and I first came inside, and I'm kind of looking at Alan, oh my God, I've really screwed up here. And initially we just sat on the couch and he just held my arm. I mean, when you fall, it really hurts. And he just held my arm for a while. And the pain really subsided. I didn't end up actually going to the med center till 3 days later.
Oh.
And found out then it was broken, but it is possible. I'm not exactly sure what he did, but it didn't hurt as much initially.
Well, I did then what I would just described when I cut my finger. I just focused in on the body is healing itself. The body is in good condition. The body is mending itself back to where it needs to be, and just keeping that focus as intense. Again, intensity is more important than duration. By focusing as intensely as I can, and by getting into that relaxed mind space within myself and believing in the process, I can, like she's talking about, like Linda's talking about, that's how one person can heal another person. I don't have to talk her through the process. I don't have to get her to believe in the healing. As long as she's open to it, that's all that's really required. As long as I believe in what I'm doing, that is in many cases enough. Now, it's not always enough, because as we might remember, those who have read and studied the Christian Bible, there's a story in there where Christ, who obviously knew how to heal people, when he went back to his hometown, it said that he could not do very many miracles there because of their lack of belief. So if Christ wasn't able to heal people because of a disbelief, I don't think any of us could be faulted for not being able to get past someone else's disbelief either.
Yeah, I would say so. You don't want to believe it won't work.
And I think that's one reason why there's a lot of quotes in the Bible where someone comes up to Christ and asks for a healing, and his response is, "Do you believe I can do this thing?" He's getting them to focus on and confirm their faith in the healing before he even starts.
And,
Thank you very much.
Be with
Great job.
everybody.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much.
Great evening.
Thank you.